Hey guys, welcome to Restorative Yoga. So in the email I sent, I suggested basically grabbing all the props. Hopefully you've accumulated a strap, a necktie would work, or even a towel roll kind of long lines. This will just help us sort of lasso our feet for some stretches we're going to do on our back today. I also recommended grabbing a couple yoga blocks, a blanket, and a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, a couch cushion or a cushion that is a little bit thicker is a great option. Or maybe even a couple of bed pillows. Bed pillows just tend to be a little bit softer than the yoga bolster. And so you need more than one of them to create the kind of heft you need with your bolster. And I don't know if I already said it, but hopefully you also grab a blanket of some sort. So for our class today, we're actually going to start on our backs. Just finding a comfortable place there. I recommend settling in just with your feet planted on the floor, allowing for that neutral, elongated spine. Reduce the tension in the low back. Even if you don't have tension in the low back, it should feel pretty nice to your body. Feel free to also maybe pad with a blanket underneath. And as you recline, just be sure that your strap is handy. That way you don't have to really move around a lot as we settle in. So as you find your comfortable spot on your back, feet planted, knees bent, just let yourself pause and settle. Resisting any urges to do work. Just letting the mat support you here. You're not tensing up at the quads, the glutes, the shoulders are spreading out on your mat. Perhaps even settling into a kind of gentle T-shape with those arms. So as you settle into your practice, maybe you do a little bit of a tug of war with one hand reaching and then the other. Giving a gentle massage through the shoulder blades against the floor and mat. Taking these first moments of our restorative practice today to simply settle and listen. Settling into practice and listening to the body. Embracing this hour to slow down and restore the body. Remembering as we go through our practice, we're clocking in at maybe work level of 4 as we move through our postures. Even when we use our strap, we might have to use a little bit of arm strength. We'll talk about ways to support the body there so you're still doing minimal work to reap the most benefit of the restorative posture. As we pause, perhaps you set an intention to guide your practice. Perhaps that intention is one of listening. Listening to the body, acknowledging what it needs from practice, noticing how it settles into each posture, and understanding its reaction. Wherever you are in the breath cycle, go ahead and exhale everything out. Inhaling for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Pausing in your natural breath pattern, noticing how incrementally building the lengths of inhales and exhales have affected the body. As we move through our practice today, perhaps you continue to lengthen the breath, balancing inhales with exhales. And as you're ready, you can gently begin to sway the knees. Just windshield wipering. If you're like me, you've got a dog right beside you, you may not drop your knees all the way to one side, and that's okay. We're just massaging through the low back, initiating a little bit of movement, although much of our practice will be relatively static. The next time your knees drop over to the right side, gently pause there. As you deeply inhale, press your left hip forward. Exhale, releases the left hip toward the mat. Thinking that micro movement, you're not moving too far. With your breath for about 2 more rounds. As you complete your rounds, your inhale rainbows the knees through center, and the exhale drops the knees to the left side. Pausing first. And a gentle twist. And your next inhale presses the right hip forward slightly. And the exhale relaxes the hip toward the mat. Perhaps moving forward for the entire inhale and sinking toward the mat for the whole exhale. We've got 1 more round. And sweep the knees back through center. Maybe shimmying out the shoulders, perhaps once again revisiting that sort of tug of war in the hands. And inhale, reaching the arms up, reaching for shoulders, and letting your elbows drop toward your face. And letting the elbows rest on the chest, and then just gently rock the shoulders from side to side. Just finding a little bit of space there. Then unpretzeling the hands and swapping the grip. Elbows forward toward the face first. And elbows drop to the chest. Gently rolling from shoulder to shoulder. That movement can initiate actually from the feet or hips, so that the shoulders are rebounding. And coming center, arms reach high once more. Just gently reach the thumbs to the floor behind you, noticing how that feels in the shoulders. Letting the backs of the hands rest on the mat as the legs extend, taking a full body stretch. Maybe you wiggle the hips gently from side to side, like your feet are on maybe a teeter-totter of sorts. Then as you're ready, you can hug your knees to the chest. Maybe that gentle sway works for you, or maybe your body enjoys the static compression. And letting your feet drop to the mat and reaching for your strap. And taking that strap, no need to like loop the edges, etc. and so on. We're just gonna use it kind of like a lasso. So you're gonna grab two sides, you got a little bit of space in between. So here it is, yeah. You're gonna bend your right knee and loop that right about the ball of the foot. Let your elbows touch the mat, and then maybe wrap the strap gently around the hand. So you're not gripping or white knuckling your strap. You're just holding on pretty gently here. My strap is so twisted. And starting here, you've got your left foot planted on the mat, and your right foot is pressing to the ceiling. So you're a little bit actively, but not too much. Don't think, I want to turn my knuckles white. Just press your elbows and triceps into the mat. Keeping that leg stacked over your hips. So don't pull it forward, and unless absolutely necessary, you don't need to press it farther forward. The foot is straight over the hip. So you're pressing the foot gently into the strap and pulling gently down with the strap. Getting a little bit of a stretch here without moving through the leg. This also helps kind of address alignment. You're welcome to keep your left knee bent or extend your leg all the way out. Yogi's choice. From here, I'm going to just take a little bit of mobility. Gently on your exhale, you'll probably extend the arms as your leg extends out. We're shooting for 45 degrees. And then bend the elbows and the foot comes back up. Syncing your movement with breath here for 3 more rounds. Hopefully feeling some release perhaps in the hip or low back. Having the resistance of the strap as you move the leg helps Find stability through the joints. And returning up to the center as you finish your rounds. We're going to swap the handles to our right hand. You can wrap or you can grab. I like the wrap option. But you still want to try to keep your elbow close to the floor. And this time, you're going to keep your elbow bent and let your leg open to the side. Hit its depth. And hinge. This one, you're going to use a little bit of arm strength up through the center. You can also use your hip. But see if you can really keep your leg relaxed in the joint and initiate movement with the strap. We've got about 2 more rounds here. Then the next time you end out to the side, pause. Let the leg be pretty heavy in the strap, but be careful of hyperextension here. Also check in with that left hip. Make sure it's rooting to the mat. We're gonna let that leg extend down and pull it up. Think those, we always had Christmas ornaments where there's a string and the legs would go out when you pull the string down. That's sort of the motion. We're just once again moving through our rotation and hopefully getting some soothing action for that hip through motion first. Maybe take one more and return to the side and reach the leg back center. And this time we're going to go a little more statically to the opposite side. So extend your right arm out, T-shape, as you let the right leg drop. Maybe you gather the strap a little bit more so you can keep your elbow bent, and we're not dropping the foot to the floor yet. So there's space, about a foot probably, or about the distance of your elbow to your hand. If you'd like to take a little bit of movement here, gently pull the big toe up. I'm saying like 2 inches and back down. Just a gentle pulse. Through the leg. Maybe taking 2 more. And then you can let your foot drop to the floor. And you can relax your strap, but don't let it unlasso. Pausing in a spinal twist. If you need, and you've got a block or a bolster handy, your foot could rest on those if foot to the mat is uncomfortable. As you breathe here, your inhales make your spine long. Perhaps you take a right thumb and press the right hip down. Or you can even let go of your strap and press into the hip crease with the left hand. We often use the right hand, but if you press the hip crease away from the belly, you might feel a little more space in your low back and the external rotator. Holding this twist for 3 more rounds of breath. Releasing the left hand from that hip quad, grabbing for your strap with the left hand, and guiding that right leg back through center. Bending through the knee, letting the leg kind of open out to half happy baby. Now, 2 options. You can keep using the strap, or maybe you reach your right hand to the blade edge of the right foot. Just breathe into half happy baby, targeting the hips in a different way. Holding for 3 more rounds of breath. You can guide that right knee through center, maybe hug it to the chest briefly, and extend the leg long. Maybe you rest on a dog, whatever. Then hugging your left knee in, go ahead and start with your right foot planted on the mat. And then we'll loop our strap around the ball of the left foot. Taking the first few postures through our class today with a little bit more motion than sometimes. So you've got the femur pressing into the hip joints at the pelvis. The yogi's choice, keeping the foot bent or extending the leg out. If you're dodging a dog like me, your leg might be a little bit angled out. In general, you want it to hang straight down from the hip. Finding a comfortable grip so that mostly your elbows are resting, even though there's a little bit of action. If you just simply press the triceps into the mat, you'll feel that action. Then we went through that extend through the arms, which makes the leg drop down. And then moving and lifting the foot. For about 4 more rounds. Feeling squareness across the hip, both hips. Maybe even length through the low back. You're still pretty actively pressing the ball of the foot into the strap. And of course, lost count, so I'm going to do 1 more for good measure. And return center. Pause. Really feeling that leg stack. We're working from the hip. So even when the leg goes out to the side, it's not necessarily lifting or lowering, it's staying in the same plane. Switching the strap to your left hand, an elbow hopefully comes down there as well. Just letting that leg drop out to the side and using the strap as much as you can to lift the leg back center. Just like you're maybe opening a gate. You can keep your right hand on your right hip, if that helps keep it down. It's sort of like you're creating kind of a right angle. You've got a right angle with the torso and the leg, and you have a right angle with the side body. Giving it about 1 more, and then we'll pause, holding that leg out to the side. So here, the knee and big toe are pointing in the same direction as the crown of your head. And then we kind of let that leg swoop down and pull it back up. I very vividly can see a Santa Claus ornament that's on that we always have on my mom's Christmas tree, that you can move the legs up and down in this same action. Only obviously it's an ornament, not our body. After you've done maybe 1 more, we'll guide that leg back through center, and we swap it across the body. Keeping the leg hovered to start. Your hips are pretty stacked, your left shoulder is on the mat or pretty close to. And maybe you take those little pulses just straight up as if you could pull it to your nose, but we're thinking just a few inches here. And if you need a prop to rest the foot on, grab it or let the foot drop onto the floor or mat. Then maybe you choose the left hand into the hip crease and press down. Or maybe you let go of the strap and press into that hip crease with the right hand. Working our space in this region of the body right here by stretching through the IT band as well as the hip. Releasing your grip, gathering the strap into your hand once more, guiding the foot up through center, bending the knee and choosing to use the strap or scoot it out of the way for half happy baby. Using kind of a all sides of the body approach today. So with our legs, we hit hamstrings, we hit inner thigh, we hit quad. Well, we'll hit quad in here in just a hot second. We hit external rotators, IT band, and inner foot and inner hip as well. Bringing the knee through center, hugging it in, and then letting it extend to the mat. Just briefly pausing, noticing how that feels. And then planting your feet on the mat. Hopefully some props are handy. I should have warned you, but I forgot. So you're welcome to use your bolster or a block. Since it's restorative yoga, please be sure that you're using most likely low side. If you're really hankering for a little bit more depth, maybe medium side, but we're being pretty gentle here. So like I said, we hit most of the sides of the legs. We're going to start targeting the front of the hip and the hip flexors into the quads. Using some supported bridge. I promise we will sit up at least briefly. From here, you can walk your feet so they're about hip distance apart. Press into the feet and scooch your block underneath your sacrum. Just pause, maybe your hands reach down. I've been really enjoying supported bridge recently with my arms extended up. So yogi's choice here. And we'll just pause first for about 3 rounds of breath in our supported bridge with 2 knees bent. Since you've got the block, there's not a lot of tension or action through the glutes and the feet. They're just barely pressing into the mat. The bolster or the block is why your hips are lifted off the ground. And from here, let your right leg extend long. Try not to let it splay out. You want your big toe still reaching up to the ceiling, so your leg stays square in your joint, right through your joint alignment. If you were standing on your foot, you would have right hip over knee and ankle. If you wanted, you could flex and point the toes, which changes the stretch just a smidge. I feel a nice extension through the shins when I point my toes. Pausing on the right side for 3 or 4 more rounds of breath. Listening to the body, noticing how it reacts and where it reacts to this particular posture. And bending that right knee, slowly scooching it back in line, and then extending the left leg out. Just focusing on one leg at a time today. I know sometimes we extend both. But I find the leverage of that foot bent slightly as it presses gently into the mat sometimes helps me feel a little more space through the quad without contracting through my low back. Option here to flex and point the toes. Yeah, about 3, maybe 4 rounds of breath. Bending that knee. Then maybe see how it feels. So take that knee hug with the block or bolster underneath. For this one, we're not necessarily going to try to grasp our hands. Just let the right hand come on the right shin and the left hand come on the left shin. You might gently sway. It might give you a massage on the low back, the top of the glutes. You may not love that, and feel free to plant your feet right back down on the mat. And planting your feet on the mat, pressing in slightly to scooch your block out of your way. Then the spine articulates to the mat. Pausing briefly, maybe you need another gentle windshield wiper of the legs. So, sort of in line with working all sides of the body, we open up through the quads and the front of the belly. So now as you're ready, you can make your way up to a seat. You can roll to one side, you can rock and roll. Just coming upright. When you arrive in a seat, before we move on, just briefly pause. Maybe close your eyes. Check in. You're probably feeling a goodly amount of space from the hips down, even into the low back there, the lumbar spine and the belly. Your legs might feel like they've suddenly become longer. Maybe there's more space in your hip joint. And so shifting in to work our way up the spine a little bit. Finding this is, I'm pretty sure this is my very favorite restorative posture. So you're going to use your bolster for your pillows. You might need your blanket. You might want it just to make sure everything's soft, so you can have a kind of gentle fold. You could also roll one end to kind of create a gentle slope of the chest onto the mat. Yogi's choice here. I like to have my blanket just to make sure I don't end up off the mat onto the floor. And you're going to grab your bolster. If you've taken restorative class with me, we do this posture pretty often. But many people suffer from low back tension. And that low back tension comes from a variety of things. It could come from posture, it could come from weakness through the core, it could come from tight psoas, it could come simply from having to sit or stand for a very long period of time. So this is a nice way to create space in the low back while gently finding release through the psoas. So that psoas, that's the muscle that lines the back of your pelvis. It is a fight or flight muscle. So generally, when we're thinking about relaxing down into a posture, we have to really focus on the exhale, right? Like, for this one, you want to let your breath be pretty ninja-like, just very quiet and gentle. Napoleon is not helpful right here. So, thank you. So to set up, you're going to bring your, come sort of to a tabletop. And you're going to bring your hip crease to the back edge of your bolster. So you're kind of guiding yourself down onto the belly, excuse me. And then the torso drapes across the bolster, and you drop down. Legs just kind of where they end up. I do try to keep the shoelace sides of my foot on the mat, but if your legs need to swap or flop in or out, that's okay. You can use your hands as a pillow. You can reach them out, or maybe even by your sides. Go ahead and let one cheek find the mat. And I'll give you a cue about halfway through to swap cheeks. You might only notice your body's reaction to laying the belly and the torso onto the bolster. And as we settle in, slowly and gently, you might find that you feel length there in the lumbar spine and space. You might also have noticed if you recently ate or you suddenly realize that you have to take a potty break. That's me. I'm going to go take a quick potty break. You stay here. Sometimes you realize when you lay on the belly that your body needs something else. So breathing here with one cheek still down. You go ahead and gently swap cheeks if you haven't already. We got about 2 minutes more in this posture. Perhaps drawing your attention to the sensation in your lower back, most likely right around here. Maybe the muscles on either side of the spine are relaxed and released. You might even be able to do a gentle walk of the feet toward the back of the mat, and then readjust into your posture. Got about 30 seconds. And when you're ready, you can maybe tip through the toes if that makes it easier. And you press your hips back to meet the heels. Finding a supported child's pose here, letting the bolster support the forehead and the forearms. As you pause, maybe you gently massage the forehead across your bolster. You can slowly guide yourself up. As you arrive, maybe you pause on your knees. If that's uncomfortable, go ahead and pause in a seat of your choice. As you just feel your spine align and elongate. As you pause, listen to see how the body feels and how it's reacted to this posture. And setting up for a heart opener, and moving up the spine. We did a lot of work there in that, I call it the fancy name of butt up pose, lengthening through the back. I feel space all the way through the whole spine. So now swapping sides and really focusing to open the heart and find space between the shoulders. So you kind of, with heart openers, you kind of get multiple sides already. So we already opened through the low belly with our supported bridge. And I'm going to give you 3 different options for your heart opener today. Maybe even 4. So the first option I'm going to offer is the rolled blanket. So this is a blanket folded in quarters. So it's about yay wide. Think as wide as your torso is long. It's a fun game to see how those measurements shake out. Then you can kind of, no need to like tightly roll, just let it roll up into a thickish roll, blanket roll, yes. And for this option, you set the blanket on your mat, your hips line up with the base of your roll, and you lay your spine down on the blanket. This kind of, the width of this roll is just about the distance between your shoulder blades. So you can get a nice melting action of the shoulders hugging around the blanket, which opens through the shoulders, drops them away from the ears, and opens through the heart and chest. That's option 1. If you choose this and any of the options I provide, I suggest starting with feet planted on the mat and then seeing where you want the legs to go. Extended is a great option for this one because it kind of mirrors a pretty well-supported fish pose. You could also do a little bit of reclined goddess legs here. That might be a lot of tension for the low back, so be very careful there. The next option is pretty similar. Would be a flat bolster instead of the blanket. You might need the blanket to kind of support the head. Not everybody, I have a crazy short torso, so like my head's not coming off my bolster. But I know some people's torso is a little bit long. And you want to support the head. You don't want it to be dropped, creating a lot of tension on the back of the neck. That's your second option. Your third option uses your bolster and your blocks for that recliner. So you would set up your blocks and lean your bolster onto them. And you would put your hips against the bolster and lean backwards. This is a very gentle option. You're not going to get too deep into a heart opener. And it is probably the one that is the most gentle for your low back as well. So if you have any low back tension, this is probably your favorite option for today. Then the last option would be just blocks. If you're using rolled towels instead of blocks, that might be a little bit too squishy, and so that may not be the best option for you. So choosing whichever one you would like to settle into to get one final heart opener before Shavasana, go for it. I've really been enjoying the rolled blanket recently. I really like how it changes my spine's relationship to the mat. And I can feel my muscles kind of wrapping around the blanket, and I get a really great release all the way down my spine. Obviously, we are focusing on opening through the shoulders and the heart, but you know, why not get all of it, right? So settling in, I'm sure you're like, Molly, it's time to stop talking, time to recline. Okay. Settling in to the option that serves you best. You may have to shimmy and shake just a smidge to feel yourself stable. Just take a few deep inhales with accentuated sighs to help the body melt into and over your chops. As you breathe here, your inhales billow through the belly. And the exhales make the shoulders heavy as if they could drop to the floor or around your supporting prop. In most options, your arms are probably in a pretty gentle T shape. If you are laying on your rolled blanket, that one could keep the arms, I would suggest keeping the arms pretty full T. For me, it helps me feel stable because that gentle bend of my elbows is sort of like a kickstand. You may be enjoying the stillness of this posture. Regardless of the props you're using, one minor micro movement you can take is a little gentle shake of the head now, massaging the back of the skull. When we're in child's pose, you have the opportunity to massage through the forehead. If you've got the rolled blanket, maybe you revisit that sort of tug of war with the hands. You might feel a little bit more motion here. The nice little pressure on my shoulders. We got about one more minute in our heart openers, whether you're finding some micro movement or enjoying, perhaps relishing in the opportunity to find stillness. Hearts are opening, shoulders are melting away from the ears. Muscles are released. Props are doing the work. If If you are using just the blocks or your recliner, I suggest gently beginning to guide yourself up to a comfortable seat. If you are laying on your blanket or a flat bolster, I suggest letting your body roll to your whichever side it happens, and just gently pausing. Maybe your arm becomes a pillow as your spine reacclimates to the lack of pressure. Then we'll all meet in a seat, just noticing how our body feels. Maybe take a gentle head circle, once in each direction. Maybe you need shoulder roll or two as we decide how to settle into Shavasana. You are, of course, welcome to Shavasana however you so choose. Today, I'm going to offer the option of rolling hills. So you take that blanket in its quarters, you make a little neck roll, and that goes at the top of your mat, where your head is. I just got myself all twisted around. And then you have a little fold at the bottom. About where your sacrum is, maybe providing some extra support in the lumbar area. You probably don't need blocks. And your bolster is going to go under bended knees as you settle in. You're of course welcome to Shavasana any other way that you so choose. This is a nice, gentle place to rest, soft and supported on your mat. You might have to readjust the blanket. I will say if the rolling hills is uncomfortable, it is probably the fold of the blanket by your low back. The neck roll always feels really nice. As you settle into your Shavasana, maybe you revisit your breath or your intention. As you surrender into the meditation of your Shavasana, letting go of tension, simply following the breath pattern. Finding your meditative state can be a long process. Your mind might have wandered to your to-do list. Just simply call it that. Reminding yourself of your intention or breath. Perhaps you gently count your inhales and your exhales. Maintain focus. Perhaps you envision the breath washing from the toes to the head, much like a wave meeting the shore. And the inhale. And the exhale, the water rushing back out to sea. Maybe you can hear the soothing sounds of the ocean. Gentle waves washing in and out. The warmth of the sand radiating underneath you. Sand contours and supports the body. Feeling safe, relaxed, and at peace. Your mind and your body. Perhaps you choose to stay in that meditative state, maybe basking in the warmth of the sand, and the rolling, rhythmic flow of the water. Or maybe you go ahead and deepen your breath consciously as you invite conscious movement into the body. You can wiggle fingers, toes, nod the head gently from side to side, maybe even shake the hips as you invite life back in on your terms. If you do have that bolster behind your knees, eventually you can shove it out of your way with your feet and roll to pause on your favorite side. Allowing your practice to settle into your body. And you can gently guide yourself up to a comfortable seat. Eyes are closed or downcast. Spine is long, crown of the head reaching high as the palms rest on the thighs. Inhale, arms reach high, palms meeting at the top. Exhale, hands pause at your third eye as you seek openness of mind. They rest at your lips so that you find honest words. They settle at your heart as you arrive at a happy heart. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide for your practice on this. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great week, and maybe I'll see you again throughout the different classes on the schedule. Thanks, everybody.